love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just look up, don't be scared. Back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so what? You're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong. You will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you're gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math, when I hate, I attack. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't be scared. Just look up. Don't be scared.
Hi, alrighty, how's everybody doing? Hoping you're having a nice beginning of the weekend. If you thought I'm gonna leave you hanging, you were deeply and gravely mistaken. I'm gonna go over everything that we've had in the price action in the recent 24 hours, which are some shenanigans, obviously, as you can imagine. You know, following Donald Trump's and Elon Musk's argument. I don't even know, like baby fight, the couple fight. I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's just utter insanity, if you ask me. Of course, as you saw, the market kind of came back to normality within 24 hours, which, by the way, is highly important to highlight that we had a meeting in the community just yesterday, and I was telling the members how don't worry about it and things will be fine, things will be kind of back to normal. And very quickly, like I said, within 24 hours things kind of went back to normal. Let's go over the chart, see what the momentum is telling, how things have really changed, and yeah, let's go over this. Without any further ado, I'll definitely do some stock analysis at the end. It seems we're not going to have too many viewers given it's a Friday at the time I don't usually go live, so probably going to be just a few stocks, so we're going to give some look at that as well. Right now the price action is very tame, and we kind of had more or less pass after that open. We kind of had more or less this flat kind of price action, right? Really didn't do anything that substantial. I mean, if you all in all, if you really look at where we've started, where we moved through, it's a very narrow band. You can almost identify the middle of it, almost the bottom of it, and see how we basically moved all in all sideways. It is very unfortunate. We were retesting basically at previous levels we've already been at, that 6,000 vicinity. We got rid of most gaps. I don't think we have any gaps left over on the upside. Hi, Danny. Hi, Mira, by the way. We are kind of moving along and chugging along inside the channel downwards right now, but let's see what the momentum is telling us that things are really panning out to be. And I kind of warned yesterday how today may be very, very boring. And I just made a video the other day talking about how the price action will eventually lead up to a breakdown in the price action, but of course it will take some time. It's not going to happen immediately within 24 hours post the release of the video. It was kind of laughable and even funny to see the price action react all that quickly. Of course, right now, as you can identify in 1 minute, we are entangled within the longer duration channel. Of course, the one we've been within, as you can see, for quite a while now, sort of testing, slipping in and out. Again, with all that abnormality, all that did is just put us back into the channel and now structured us again to start moving downwards as was expected in the first place. This may be just a reaction of the robotic systems. Normally they identify there a hole that could be filled very, very quickly, and so we are going to see potentially just right as Monday starts, we're gonna see fine, thank you Laura, I'm doing well, thank you all, thank you Mira, thank you Danny, just fine, why not good, just fine, what do you mean? Just back from one of them myself, so feeling tired. No, I'm not tired at all. In fact, I will be going on holiday on the 11th. I will be traveling to Bulgaria. I'll be traveling to visit a member of the community and hang out and have this vacation time. It's going to be completely awesome. I will be posting pictures on the community Discord, and of course I will still be having the hangouts and all sorts of cool things while I do that. So the price action, all in all, as you can see, pretty boring, just kind of chugging along that median price, the median of the channel, of the longer duration channel. The price action hasn't been too impressive, as we said, just kind of more so flat and sideways. Now, the 5 minutes actually says and gives us an idea. Hello, Shazan. Confirm will be amazing. Those who don't realize, Shazan here is the member I will be going to visit. And so yes, it will be amazing. I'm certain. I have zero doubt. It's everything I've heard about Bulgaria is phenomenal. Is again, especially this time of the year. Now, the 5 minutes is not all that interesting. Is becoming kind of bullish, but we are kind of chugging along and retesting the very same level. So it's not going to be surprising if we will see the price action retest 6,010 as we were retesting throughout the session, back and forth multiple times. As you can see, that's kind of the main resistance area where we're headed at right now. Really what we want to be more attentive to are the larger time frames. Larger time frames may actually present what it is that we will see in the upcoming sessions, right? Again, remember those lines were just generally representative of the vicinity. 45 minutes, for example, 35 minutes, if you pay attention, is already prepared and getting prepared to have that spillover, that transition, that secondary transition, in fact, right around the 80 range, which means potentially a breakdown. As you can see, the momentum is not strong enough basically to break into overbought territory, and so it cannot have that bullish momentum, cannot appreciate in price simply because it's weakening and you're getting an outflow of buying, and so the price action basically slowly overturns and breaks down. It's not really bearish momentum or acceleration to the downside as much as it is a taming down of the bullish momentum for the time being. This is why we're seeing more or less this almost flattening like price action, right? Now, the 1 hour on the other hand, as you can see, struggling and chugging along towards the 80 where we are probably going to see convergence. And once we do, we will potentially see another sort of continuation of another impulse to the downside, potentially something similar to that, retesting that 5961. Of course, given that we have only 4 minutes in today's session, we're mainly talking about Monday right now. If we want to look at the 4-hour chart, the 4-hour chart is where things really get interesting. On the 4-hour chart, we already started moving downwards, but then again, we are having convergence of the K and the D, basically the fast and the slow moving averages of the stochastic RSI, implying to us that we are maybe having here a takeover of the bullish momentum, whether it's going to be temporary or are we pushing back up into the upside and maybe achieving sort of this another temporary high. Maybe we're testing again 6012. There is a harmonic pattern structure that is being built, and it really can't exceed, or supposedly, given how many sort of types of this structure may there be, only one, and very rare, which is just going to be tremendously unreasonable and unreal to even see. And so the price action can't really penetrate that previous high, and so that's why you can see the price action is basically being broken down, up and down, back and forth. Every time we have a different excuse, and while we don't have an excuse, you see simply the price action kind of hovering along and not doing anything, while more money is being pushed into the market, of course, with little sort of the little chunks, if you will. It's not even a similar volume we have in normal days. These recent sessions are mainly, institutional plays, while a little bit of the sort of individual retail investors or traders pushing in more money and thinking, well, things are going to be better. I mean, how can they be worse? They're getting good news all the time, and the market is kind of pushing higher all the time, but not really. So again, remember, on the 4 hours, things are kind of starting to get interesting. We are already moving to the downside and potentially formulating what could be identified as a form of a head and shoulders. The problem is it's very, very much hidden inside. As you can see, here is your shoulder. Basically, that kind of implies to us where the absolute tippy top of this cycle, so to speak. In fact, we're potentially going to have another sort of retest right here, sort of closing this part of the cycle, having another shoulder, and then eventually breaking downwards. 1 second, boys and girls. Sorry, the cough a little bit, although it's not as severe as before. Sometimes it does rear its ugly head from time to time, so I had to clear my throat. Sorry for that. So what we're seeing again is the price action sort of going almost sideways. It had to go over the previous high simply to formulate that harmonic pattern, which is an inevitable. It is an inevitable part of where the cycle ends. It's almost hard to depict that to those who don't understand and cannot envision why the cycle looks like that. But at the very tippy top, right before we have the transition to the very next leg into the cycle, we basically have a head and shoulders. It is an inevitability. Whether it's going to be very tame, whether it's going to be full force gigantic head and shoulders, it doesn't really matter. In our case, as you can see, we're getting more so kind of this almost wedged formation, kind of like head and shoulders, which is kind of tight at the end of the day. It's not nothing to write home about. That's why the price action is just kind of boring, if you will, and moving almost sideways. And something I warned about, and I said, yeah, I just literally warned about this in the previous video. I warned, ironically, there's another interesting thing. This is just phenomenal. I gotta say, this is something I could have not, you cannot make this stuff up. I was just saying how the price action will eventually result in downwards pressure and downwards price action. We all understand this is an outcome of Elon saying what he said about Donald Trump and the subsequent reaction, and people are thinking that's it. Tesla is fried, it's gone. I mean, it's horrible. Elon really, he needs to learn to shut his mouth. That's such a huge mistake. I mean, some people are saying this is some form of, hi John, some form of 5D chess. Honestly, I'm going to tell you all, boys and girls, I have no idea if this is some 5D chess. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it may be some people are saying it's some insane plan for them to entice the government, the courts to release or sort of entice the Democrats to fight for the release of the Epstein files. So if he's there, it's going to be sort of, known to all and then potentially impeached. Like there's this 5D chess thing that people are envisioning. I really, really struggle to see that. I really do. I'm able to see how both of them can have gigantic egos and being very petty, about this sort of thing. And it's a couple of very ego-bloated people taking things completely out of proportion and just making it all completely full of drama and nonsense and bullshit. Whether they all have their own, sort of behind-the-scenes agendas to what they're saying, I have no idea. But honestly, to me, that just sounds like utter insanity, and I would not give it too much credence when it comes to how much effect it will have on the market. As we know, these sort of things normally don't last long and don't have far-lasting effects. So I mean, just like I warned, literally we had a meeting with the members, and I said, don't get too excited. This drop may be corrected within no time, and we are expecting. You see, it's kind of ironic how I have to do the heavy pulling for the bulls as well. And I'm not a bear. It's ironic. I mean, I'm not a bear myself. I'm just simply I report on what the analysis shows, right? And the analysis is pretty evident. I mean, the market is not healthy right now, and we are expecting a downtrend. But when I see this sort of thing, I say, come on, this is abnormal, right? It's going to be corrected. This sort of break is going to be corrected, whether the nature of the market will take over, right? Whether it's individual assets such as Tesla, whether it's the indices. And I mean, we haven't completed the harmonic structure process that has to happen here, and so that has to do a lot more with technical analysis and the cycle and how it's meant to happen, and a lot less regarding, you know, the bullshit and noise that's happening in the political world. Oh, and the worst thing is, oh, I had to, oh my God, don't get me started talking about Palantir. Everywhere I go now, everybody's talking about this, contract with of Palantirs with the government, how they're going to make things more efficient, save a lot of money, and everybody's saying how Palantir is going to get a hold of your data and all that sort of thing. First of all, we got to highlight that your freedom and sort of, secrecy of your data, if you will, is long gone. I mean, really, that sort of thing is just, I mean, forget about it. And in fact, it's good if you don't want to have an ecosystem that does not have any policing. And since in this digital world, you simply have to be able to see the data to identify whether there is anything to be policing of, guess what, which you want, right? It's kind of impossible. There is no other way to police the system to verify that it's functioning properly and that it's not being abused against you without actually having the data. Now, and I'm talking about the government side. I'm talking about the government itself. Palantir, on the other hand, which everybody's blaming Palantir for, is, oh, Palantir is going to get a hold of your private data, this and that. No. Guys, do some research. 5-minute research will teach you that Palantir does not get the data. Palantir provides the tool and the education to the government of how to use these tools, right? And it doesn't get the data. Doesn't get any, it cannot be then broken into, cracked into, and have your data stolen. That's not how it works, literally. And in fact, the only thing Palantir can do is make things more efficient. I'm not saying, guys, go out and buy Palantir. First of all, if you, for a second thought, this is, or any information here is some sort of signal, or you should do this or that, hell no, then you were gravely mistaken. This is not what we do here. No signals, right? You do what you think is right. You manage your portfolio on your own. You're all supposed to be adults here. After all, the market is 18 plus, right? And if you're not an adult by then, well, sorry. And so in reality, you got to do 5 minutes research to understand that Palantir is a great company and understand what it's all really about, and it's not going to have any access to your data and none of that crap. I respect analysts speaking out. I don't think Elon is being truthful. I mean, I think Elon is just speaking out of frustration. And hey, Stonks, good to see you, brother. Then I really don't think Elon is speaking out of a legitimate, serious place. I mean, but it doesn't really matter what we think, right? At the end of the day, we pay attention to the technical analysis here, which we're going to continue in a second. Remember, now since we're not doing labs every day, I'm going to squeeze the fun out of this. I mean, the market is already closed. It's like, well, not like we're in a rush anywhere, right? It's more of a hangout with the members, right? And so I'll ramble on before I'll continue the analysis. It's not like the market is going to move anywhere, right? Now, I do think I do think that Elon is probably speaking out of a very emotional, irrational place, and I don't really think it carries any merit, and I don't think that's the reason why the Epstein files are not being released. The same thing as, At first they were all claiming that he offed himself and they didn't have any videos. Now suddenly, when it's comfortable for them or convenient, they suddenly have video somewhere somehow, and it's all shitty, grainy, or bad quality. No, I mean, it's this whole narrative is highly manipulated. I wouldn't trust anything that has to do with that guy, first of all, right? Thank you, Stonky. You're a goddamn beautiful legend. Yes, absolutely. Everyone, if you're not yet part of the community, if you haven't yet joined the Discord where we hang out, where we have community exclusive content, where we have meetings and all that beautiful stuff, definitely do join us in the community. It looks like so. This is the address, patreon.com/investory, just like Stonks now had it in the chat right there. Of course, it also will have it in the description below. Once the video is done. And Trump is actually taking this in stride and reacting like an adult, proper pragmatic sort of, person. And I really appreciate his behavior around this. And he's highlighting how Elon was all nice and dandy, and suddenly when he left, whether was forced to leave or on his own merit, we at least will not know, and until then I wouldn't want to speculate. At the end of the day, he left, and immediately as he left, he started speaking against the beautiful bill, and then Trump started speaking back to him very disrespectfully, of course, but then Elon really, I would argue, a little useless. Please change your nickname, you goddamn beautiful mother lover. And so took things out of proportion. I hope the sound is good and I didn't F things up right now. And I really do think Elon then took things out of proportion and just kind of, I think being Elon, just wanted to make as much damage. He's like the sort of guy, it feels like, when he's gonna lose the play, he's just gonna blow up the playing field, you know what I mean? And I'm very, very disappointed in his behavior. He is causing a lot of damage, long-lasting damage, I would argue, even to Tesla, because Tesla is highly affected by his behavior. It is the reality. And I've been saying how Tesla is not going to go anywhere, even with the key man risk, and understanding that Elon is not just important as an entity for the company. Elon is the driver of this, but at the end, the company will suffer in the long run, obviously, but in the short run, it will still remain what it is and probably develop to be the beast and the monster that it's meant to be regardless, because it's already on the path to it, right? And that sort of doesn't really affect the day-to-day investor person, if you will, although there is a better strategy than just DCAing like crazy all the way through to the bottom. If the bottom is $100, why not just exit at the top, or at least partially re-enter at the bottom with that very same money, have more stocks and with a better ROI as you're going up? That will make a lot more sense. But again, who am I to tell people what to do things? Remember, at the end of the day, nothing here is, we're not giving signals, nothing here is financial advice. You do you. You're all supposed to be adults and be able to handle your own portfolios, right? I would simply say that this should not affect how you perceive the company in the long run. And sadly, as weird as it is, that will be like insane to almost say, Greg, ignore in the short run? Yes, ignore in the short run. As you can see, the price action has a lot more to do with sort of these things usually have very short legs. Irregardless, yes, of course, there is this thesis of, buy the rumor, sell the news, right? But at the end of the day, all these sort of behaviors are usually short-lived and do not last too long. So I would kind of stay focused on the overall arc of what the market is doing, what the cycle is, where the cycle is, why, and all these sort of things, because this means a lot more to where the market is going to be going, more than what sort of this bullshit nonsense that you hear today and these petty little argument, childish, I swear, actual petty little childish arguments. What the hell is this? Is this the stock market or kindergarten? What the hell what is this drama show? I mean, I've seen enough drama in the past couple of weeks than I've seen throughout my entire high school years, right? Put all together. This is just utter insanity. again, I would just put it all aside. I would just, in fact, highly focus on the fact. Notice, guys, there's a lot more interesting things that are going on. Notice how the market has been stuck at the very same resistance and unable to break, regardless of the amount of good news, companies, reports. None of it matters. We've been very, very stagnant and retesting sort of previous highs. And I mean, I would warn people to identify that the movement is still being retained almost forcefully, still to the downside and slowly curving. That is literally what we're seeing. People normally getting lulled into this sort of sense of security. Ah, don't worry, eventually it's going to be good. No, that's not. I'll explain. The cycle is the cycle. The cycle is, in fact, is inevitable. If you're going to look at the individual assets, right? Simply, if you look in the individual assets, not just let's not tackle, the indices, that bigger sort of story side of things. Look, even your individual assets, your various Nvidias on the weekly are coming to a conclusion, if you will, of that bullish momentum, and it's going to spill over, and it's being visible on all time frames. The same way where there's a reason we're being retained in oversold position throughout this entire period. You need to understand that there's a far overarching larger story that's going on, and here it's actually visible on individual assets far worse than it's visible on the SPX. And so yes, we are, if you will, destined to have a significant downtrend. Yes, arguably it's going to be worse than 2008 to some extent, right? In fact, we've kind of been prolonging it. That's already make it worse. That already, just the fact of the matter that we've been prolonging and sort of stretching it out is making it worse. As you can see, this limb is tremendously long, basically, this entire process. Well, you're going to say, well, Greg, there are bigger limbs, bigger processes that we went and this and that. But it doesn't matter. Every leg of the cycle is not identical to the previous one just naturally. If anything, if you want to be comparing, right, compare a pineapple to a pineapple, don't compare a pineapple to an engine. That's not how things work. It doesn't make any sense when you're comparing the current cycle with a cycle that has nothing to do being compared to, right? So in reality, what we are seeing is just the regular following of the indices, something we've seen all along, and we were prepared and warning, by the way, again, in our community, in my community, which I'm so proud of. I highly recommend joining right now. It's still discounted, by the way. If you do use the annual payment method, you do get a 20% discount. Instead of $30 a month, it ends up being $24. Instead of $60, it ends up being $48 a month. And you get in the advanced meeting, you get in the advanced tier, you get 2 meetings a week, a whole bunch of nice, awesome perks, knowing my positions, having a chat, hangouts, community meetings that are individually just exclusive to the community exclusive content that is made just for them. No ads, no nothing. It's completely demonetized and free, and so it doesn't harass you while you're watching. And oftentimes I give the information of various things that we're forecasting in the market in advance. So definitely do join these if you haven't yet. That will grant you access to our beloved, beautiful Discord, right? Our beloved, beautiful Discord. Here it is. You can see we have our meetings kind of scheduled and stuff. We have our kind of general overall conversation area. By the way, those who want to know more and actually learn an actual skill set, you can join, and either whether you're in the first stage of things or you just joined, you have access to need help, ask about the academy, the one-on-one academy, where I tutor you one-on-one. In fact, let me bring it up on screen again so people will be a little bit more up to speed to what it is that I'm talking about. As you can see, it grants you various perks. It's not just that academy bit. You cannot sign up to it on the Patreon. The only way to sign up to that tier is directly through me. You basically join the Discord, as you can see right there, link on the bottom, discord.gg/investory, and then you go, as I was just showing a second ago, to this channel, the need help, and you have academy application. You apply to the academy, then you and I will have a one-on-one call, an actual proper voice call, no chatting. We're not 15-year-old girls, right? Plus it's a waste of time, the slowest way to misunderstand each other and end up with nothing. Of course, we have our meetings. The meetings are archived, right? You can then go back and you can see member exclusive content, although now has been reorganized, and now I'm going to be having also exclusive meetings with the academy members. Chill down, not yet scheduled, right? Soon will be scheduled. I know sort of this doesn't make sense yet, but because we had different types of meetings and then they were changed, and also we're adding another tier of meetings basically just to clarify things up. And of course the members exclusive content, which now has been transferred over to this channel, so everything kind of been reorganized. That's why you see a little bit of a mess, but it's soon to be just going to be very, very consistent, very convenient. Still had to keep things where they are, so you know, the archive will be properly kept. Definitely do join the community. You'll be able to view all these things, join the meetings, read about the academy, join the academy, and all that beautiful stuff. Now let's continue with the analysis, right? I hope people haven't, you know, completely dropped dead yet while I was explaining all that stuff. It is very important, and you know, otherwise people all the time ask, Greg, how do I join the community, this and that, and we try to summarize and run through these things, but people never know fully. All right, so on the monthly, as we said, I mean, the overall thing is here that we still are seeing a breakdown in the bullish momentum, and it's a matter of time, very, very much shortly, just a matter of, you know, few sessions, potentially a couple of weeks. As I was warning just in a previous video, don't expect it to happen, you know, literally tomorrow or within a week. In fact, we don't know exactly. We're not trying to time the market, and I'm going to highlight that this thing may take all the way to the end of the month. That's just the reality of the thing. But what we are seeing is clear-cut evidence of the market continuing that downtrend, which is visible, by the way, on the larger time frames. Is going to basically breaking back down further. And if you're familiar, if you would have been familiar, which we kind of just now did a whole session dedicated to the cycle, to the longer duration cycle. There is a far longer duration cycle that's going on that people are not familiar with. And if you're not familiar with it, there is no way you can sort of guess or figure out. And if you don't know the rules of or the structure of these cycles and why they happen the way they do, it will never make sense. You'll not be able to stumble upon it by accident. It's one of those things. This is why the academy exists, where I go over with you one-on-one and actually teach you and show you how these things are structured, why they function the way they do, where they came from, so to speak, the math behind them, everything. That really then leads to your understanding to why we're following these channels also religiously, and we care so much about how the price action behaves, curves, or things like momentum. All of that, of course, is what leads us to read into what the potential, you know, price action will be like, right? What else? That's it. I think that's that part of things. So let's go to the chat. I really want to go over some tickers, boys and girls. Let's go over to the chat. I'm late again. Khalis, you are fine. Don't worry about it. Make Stong smile by hitting the like button. Make me smile by hitting the like button, guys. Yeah, isn't that worth a like? All right, so let's go with stocks, boys and girls. Which stocks you want me to analyze? Since we're not doing these lives on a daily basis anymore, and the individual stock analysis is being done only in the community, exclusively for the community members, we're going to do some stock analysis right here, right now. So feel free, just before you do write the ticker, for example, let's say if you want me to analyze NVIDIA, write it like so, right? Just kind of like a star and then NVIDIA. That kind of helps me identify that what you're asking about is a ticker, kind of. It makes it stand out. Palantir, although you didn't follow my instruction, but no problem, brother. Let's do Palantir, absolutely. Palantir, unfortunately, is very simple. It was able to outperform and hit the previous resistance. It's why, unfortunately, because it's very misleading to most market participants who are highly excited about Palantir. And by the way, those, if anyone here confuses and thinks for a second I hate or dislike Palantir, not at all. I'm highly excited, and I was one, and still am, one of the most bullish people around about the company. And in fact, I will defend what they do just like I did right now. Everybody's talking shit about Peter Thiel and the company themselves right now and think they're going to steal your data and invade your privacy and all that crap. Bullshit. Do 5-minute research. You will learn that you have nothing to, first of all, lose from this. I mean, really, first of all, your privacy is gone, long gone because of other companies that have nothing to do with Palantir. Okay, just realize that first, as a foundational sort of aspect of things. Beyond that, what Palantir does is completely different, guys. They provide a system, a set of tools to the client who wants to conduct research and find caveats in their data and find where they can improve on the structure of their business, whether it's physically by fixing things prematurely, not waiting for them to break, because then in the long run you end up spending a lot more money on fixing it later when it's far worse broken, like they have done for the aviation industry, for example. Or they can identify where your spending is unbalanced and you're spending on something you shouldn't be spending, and you are able to save up on some financial front, right, on the book, so to speak, somewhere. They can identify this, how streamlined your business is it functioning well, and where can you fix it, improve it, make it better. The same method can be applied pretty much to anything and everything in the world, from a company that makes toasters, right, to the government, literally down to up to as big as the government. And it totally makes sense. Wouldn't you want your GDP to be positive? Don't you really want to be out of recession? I mean, looking at things how they're headed, we're obviously going to have another negative quarter of GDP, and then what are you going to say? Then suddenly Palantir sounds like a brilliant idea, right? And in fact, it's necessary. It is actually necessary. So things like Palantir are necessary, literally going to become in the future something or sort of a staple and a necessity for any institution, company, government, whatever you want to call it. In fact, anyone who thinks badly of Palantir does not understand what they do, who they are. And if you're an American, disliking Palantir is the most anti-patriotic thing you could be doing. It is absolutely and utterly insane to be disliking Palantir. They help your military, your government defend you in various ways. They make them more streamlined, more efficient, save money that will be then taken from you by taxes, that is still necessary and needed for these various things to happen, right? So if they can make things better, why not? Who the hell would want to hate on Palantir? What is the hell is wrong with people? Seriously, do 5 minutes. Just Google it. Just Google it. Even Google, the shittiest Google, who doesn't even tell you the truth about half of the stuff, will still tell you the truth. So Palantir is great, right? But Palantir is being highly, I wouldn't say manipulated because the terminology will be kind of incorrect. Just simply the institutions, the market makers are identifying how badly misled the people are. People don't understand what Palantir's business is like, what their profit margins are like, what their debt structure is like. If they basically don't have real comprehension of the first of all, the financial future of this company, the business of this company. So and other interesting factors. For example, the leadership structure they don't understand, and who they are, why they really kind of are able to work together, which is phenomenal. It's in essence, Palantir is a uniparty creation, because you basically have Alex there, who's more on the left, and you have Peter Thiel, who's a lot more on the right, and you have this amalgam and very healthy combination of a system that its entire structure is not based on politics, is based on just sheer improvement. It is, there's nothing like it. They created an industry, they created a sector. I mean, people like to compare Palantir to other tech companies, to all sorts of snowflakes, schmoflakes. It is all bullshit. There is nothing like Palantir in all reality. I mean, right now, at least not right now, given their structure, given the AI systems that are part of what they do, there's nothing like it. And so, yeah, I'm very bullish for Palantir. I just have to be realistic about how abused the stock is being. The stock and the price action is completely unhinged and detached from what what reality dictates right now. It has completely nothing to do with it, and this price action is being basically abused by the institutions who slowly are unloading and let the retail buy back in so they can unload again at the very same price. So institutions are unloading, you guys buy back in. You allow them to unload and you buy back in. Unload, buy back in. Eventually, you guys will realize that the crab is being boiled, and right before the drop happens, which has nothing to do individually with Palantir, it has a lot more to do with just the state of the market. Palantir is merely a plant that is seeded in this soil, right, in this area or in this ground. And if the ground is poisoned and everything in that is seeded in this ground is going to get poisoned, guess what? Palantir is no different. It's just going to weevil and die, right? And so you need to understand that there is no real scenario in which the indices are breaking, collapsing, the market is breaking down, and Palantir is thriving. There is a scenario where Palantir is dropping slower with this almost parachute-like scenario instead of very quickly like the rest of the market may. But if the rest of the market drops and then stays flat for a long time, it doesn't matter. If you're given enough time, Palantir in the market will match eventually, right before some sort of corrective movement, right? And no, this is just an example. This is just an example to clarify what I mean. So looking at Palantir individually is kind of redundant, but let's see what is it that the individual assets momentum is like, right? I mean, we've been obviously working our way in this channel that is already taking this different approach instead of basically moving. Like, notice, so far we've been moving along in this channel, right? That has this approach, has this degree that it has, and so it's a lot more steep and going upwards. And now we are started transitioning into this channel that is a lot more tame, a lot more flat, if you will. That normally happens before the transition and the spillover back to the back end, and then just, well, the stock drops, right? Depreciation of the price. And that merely happens because of a sell-off, because people don't want to, conquer the risk and already seen the price action behave in such a very rapid way, and all it takes is enough people to have a stop loss right here. The market takes it down and they're out. First of all, that's one sort of scenario. They eat their own self, they eat themselves because, oh, now the market is appreciating. No, none of it matters. Really, at the end of the day, most people don't realize. For me, for example, if I would be looking at this, it doesn't matter whether to exit at this end or this end. It doesn't matter. The only thing I want to be doing is exiting this position before it drops again. The market can and potentially will, as you will be able to identify via the momentum. Let's see what the momentum structure is like. I mean, on the daily, it is already becoming bearish and in fact fully transitioning through the 50 area. As you can see, both the positive and the negative, if you will, indicators for on the stochastic RSI are both kind of moving towards that 50 range and lower, 50.55, 31.66. So we're quite quickly becoming more and more bearish. As I warned, we will become bearish very, very shortly, just the other week when we were talking about it. Now, here it is coming to this almost ceiling, if you will, of sorts. We are starting to see it curve a little bit, so weekly bullish still, but we can literally see that behavior of taming down and coming to a halt, almost this flat-like area, which again is driven by the market continuing to be positive. But if we're starting to look on the monthly, and something we've been preparing, sort of warning all about, and that's why the focus is mainly towards the end of the month, we're already starting to see a breakdown of the momentum. We're starting to see the bearish momentum start to take over, a breakdown of the bullish, subsequently leading to almost like a gravity-like circumstance that will lead to the market, the price action, to start correcting downwards. Our first destination would be, of course, that 80 area, once penetrating from overbought into the body of the stochastic RSI, indicating that we're going to be having a lot more bearish pressure. Continuation of that will lead to a breakdown over the 50. Once we break over the 50, we'll become full-on bearish, and pretty much that area that is below, all the way from 50 to 20 and below, at below 20, oversold conditions, acceleration of bearish conditions. And so if you consider how high we have gone and how much down we have, again, we're not seeking to get a zero. No one ever thinks that's the case. The reality, though, that we are gonna correct on the vast majority of this thing, if not at least 50%. Looking at 50% will give you a price range of $60. I would arguably say that things are pointing to the fact that they will be a lot worse than just $60. That's just my assessment. Of course, join the community so you'll know a lot more. You'll be able to go over these sessions and calls with us. You'll be able to ask more in-depth questions, see exactly what are the tools, how they function, why these particular price ranges. But as you can see, there are various support resistance levels that will have to be broken once we're going to continue to the downside, right? You can see weekly sort of overturning, and so basically this thing can kind of remain flat and maybe even move into this wedge, which gives you 132, inching up and down, not giving any substantial result, not something you're going to capitalize on. Of course, that's the way I'm forecasting it right now. We're not seeing anything substantial, and so more so a preparation to break down. As you can see, the channel is basically going sideways and becoming flat, and so it will be going down with the rest of them. Palantir, we're done. But again, it's not all that surprising. I don't mind doing these sort of, basic, if you will, tech stocks, although we keep on saying, guys, they will simply follow the narrative and the sentiment that is being dictated by the SPX. And so if we're saying the SPX is going to continue shortly, this continuation of this downtrend, right, we're basically inherently saying that individual assets will be going downwards with it, right? So that's kind of an inevitability. You have to understand. Price action is being very, very boring. As you can see right here, we have done nothing. This entire session kind of was a retest of previous levels, merely going sideways. And I was literally just warning about it to the community and saying that, you shouldn't get too emotional and reactive to these things. These things oftentimes happen and correct themselves within no time. All right, so Casey, let's do NOC for ya. But those who wonder about Plug is kind of having a little bit of a nice day in the sun, if you will. Oil is rallying higher, 64, 69 right there. It may not be the end-all be-all of things. We're kind of, inching higher and higher and higher. We are having convergence, divergence on the daily, so that's kind of problematic for those who expect oil to rally right now. It still is completing that pocket process, which, well, honestly, we didn't expect to take all so long. We didn't expect the reservoir to be found, and so that gigantic head and shoulders ended up having a prolonged shoulder instead of kind of coming up earlier. We ended up prolonging the process, basically wasting more time, right? We thought this is going to start picking up earlier. This entire head and shoulders was not expected to be all so deep. It was expected to be more a little bit of a tame structure leading up to a breakout and a movement upside. All in all, it may happen that, and again, under the conditions that some reservoirs, big reservoirs were found, oil we're not appreciating, in fact depreciating, because again, the more oil we have in circulation, the cheaper the price, the more accessible it is. And just knowing that the overall finite amount, let's not get into that, but amount increases, and so subsequently we will have more of it, more accessible easily, right? Now let's see what we're seeing right here on the oil. As I said, it's gonna, on the weekly, we're penetrated the 50 and we're moving towards that 80 range. Our monthly potentially will converge right here towards the end of the month. We're looking at a range of what, 15 days left altogether, and then we may start seeing that pickup of the price, which will then result in Plug enjoying a more significant rally. Those who don't understand or don't know, we're actually looking at the larger time frames, starting to look at the momentum, how it's picking up or breaking back down. Really, what we're looking at right here is the weekly. The weekly is the most interesting time frame we're looking at right now, because we're starting to see that breakout that we've been waiting for quite a while now, and that potentially gives us a hint of that beginning of a form of a rally, if you will. And we're kind of getting the signs that we were looking for. It doesn't necessarily mean that is the rally we're looking for. It may just be the beginning or a restabilizing process that may lead to a result of maybe $3, maybe $6. It's kind of hard to determine right now the direction of this, but at least for now it appears to be somewhere between $3 and $6. That's the direction of this channel right now. Which is quite significant for something that is, I mean, you 3 times on your money. I mean, it's quite significant. Also, something we've been waiting for a long time. Of course, that will require us to wait for the end of the month. We're starting to see a little bit of a pickup on the monthly, which is somewhat, some would argue, even more of a significant sign. And we're starting to see some buybacks, so we're seeing insiders are buying, so we're starting to see some waking up signs. Of course, this thing still may take a while, but we are starting to see more and more bullish signs, and in agreement with the energy sector. Oftentimes we see assets like so move in solidarity, so that's not all that surprising. Alrighty. Let's go right here and do NOC. Right, let's do NOC. That's actually, I mean, one of my favorites, actually. Northrop Grumman are always a good thing to buy, generally speaking. I'm kind of biased about it, but let's try be more objective about things. First of all, I'm lacking my structure. I need some structure to this. What is going on? What is this? Is this amateur hour? What is this? This is not a professional operation. Not at all. Now I need, where's my, am I right? And so I would need this. I want to have this. Right. Which means that totally makes sense. That also totally will make sense then. Retest of that very level that was preventing price action from continuing upside. That is pretty interesting. It appears to be transitioning into bullish momentum, obviously, and after completion of an entire wave, so it becomes actually a lot more bullish on the half year. But then again, it does appear to be very much intertwined and in line with the major indices in the overall market. Still is quite bearish on the quarterly and does not show any signs of waking up. On the yearly, it is obviously bearish and accelerating, which is very unfortunate, which plays very neatly into where the market is saying, which kind of plays along with I would say arguably, I mean, the bottom of this channel will give you, that's like 400 area. So that will give you like a 400 area-ish. I'm sorry, no, I'm not in frame. I'm sorry, I'm not good at being on camera, and I keep on forgetting to stay on camera. I'm not so good at that. So it appears to be like it's 400. Really, what will be potentially your retest area? So, and then you have 38501, which will be another area of retest. On the 3 months, no, maybe on the monthly I'll be able to identify it better. I can tell you through this, you have a couple of forces. You have that 460, 460 area as a support. In fact, I would argue that right now it's your current support in which you're residing. It was retested here multiple times, as you can see, as a floor, as a ceiling, as a floor, and potentially will be retested again, maybe moving into that wedge before a breakdown, but it does appear. Now if we're looking at the weekly is bearish, kinda bearish-ish, not really, not in full force, because as you can see, sort of the how the angle is changing, transitioning from being very steep to being a lot more mellow, kinda like that, right? More off to the side rather than steep to the downside. The degree changes significantly, the approach. So that means that it's slowing down, but it still is bearish actively. So this correlates in my mind very neatly, this transition right here, that correlates with that perfectly. And so that gives you roughly around that 450, 460 area, maybe even 440, a handle of 440 to some extent. I mean, it looks problematic. First of all, it's obviously been moving sideways all along. I mean, obviously this entire thing is sideways, right? Which is very natural, I mean, for an asset to do, but for so long, I mean, Jesus. So stagnant with high volatility. I mean, we've seen phenomena like that before. I guess it's that ever-changing, geopolitical sphere and how things are panning out to be, and the need of new weapons and prototypes that are coming out, and new technologies. And so, I guess they're having, a bit of a good time, a bit of a bad time, a bit of a good time. But then again, if we're looking at the technical side of things, without sort of trying to read into the narrative too much, it's a lot more bearish right now than it's bullish in reality, and it appears to be very much in line with the indices. And if the indices are going to be more bearish, that kind of makes sense. So Northrop Grumman, although, but then again, it depends. If we're going to have significant geopolitical strife and a lot of wars, and Northrop will get a lot of contracts or products that will be putting on a lot of need, or maybe just, their products showing out, right? Northrop are in everything and anything and everything that has to do with military in the U.S. So all you to do is a little bit of a showcase of some new tech, and you'll be fine. And Northrop will fly up like a rocket. Then don't forget, they participate in various projects that we're not familiar with, even we're not aware of, let alone they are almost they have their hand in anything and everything that has been made so far in the military-industrial complex. And so, I mean, I would arguably say, yeah, they're a good defense contractor that contributes quite a bit, and they're too far in bed with the government to fail. Let me just say that. And so, flap like a rocket, good one, yeah. I mean, yeah. You caught me on that one. That was intentional. But yeah, it legitimately is. In the long run, it's, one of the things I really, really like is defense contractors, because in the long run, they are one of the most safest plays. I don't really see humanity going utopian anytime soon, just saying. And the US will still in charge, which means they will still need to be on the forefront and on the tip of the spear when it comes to military technology, whether it's through them buying it up from other countries or developing it themselves. So it's absolutely necessary, and I would argue that defense contractors are something to be invested into in the long run. Definitely something to have as an important piece of a stable, good long-term portfolio. Right now, objectively, it looks more bearish like the rest of everything. Given the dividends were just given out recently I see, and so yeah, it's not going to be all that surprising to see that the price action now will tame down. People will be selling off with fears in the market, sentiment, and all brought all together. It will yield that downwards pressure, which for the time being, as we said, will probably move you down towards around 440, 450, 460 vicinity, at least for the time being. Yes, yes. Listen to Stonks here. Exactly. He breaks down exactly what gives you what, and you should join Patreon so then you can join Discord because everything is conducted, all the meetings, all the hangouts, all the exclusive content, all of it is done via the Discord. Plenty of new members that have just joined, plenty of new activities we're going to have. I'm going to do a breakdown on Microsoft, working on it and preparing. I want to see exactly what part of, because Microsoft still is very much following the overall indices, but it really does have, it has some interesting things to know about and be attentive to, so you'll know what it seems to be planning on doing in the following months and years, and then you'll be able to, of course, adjust accordingly. Remember, this is not financial advice, not a signal, just merely my own meandering analysis and thoughts on the stock. Also, a benefit of joining the community, when we'll be asked, when we're going to have a debate between two assets, they will be the ones to be able to vote and choose which assets are going to be up next for analysis and breakdown. All right. Not all that fascinating, I gotta say. I mean, we literally expected this. The reasoning doesn't make any sense. I mean, the timing, the behavior, none of it makes any sense. Very childish, very dramatic, very dumb. Very typical, though. Very, very typical of both of them. Don't think it's 5D chess, like I said before. I think it's just people being emotional and childish. Alrighty, boys and girls, I see we're not getting any more stocks. I think everybody's out to rest on a Friday, and that will be today's live. Hopefully everybody else will be able to watch it later because, yeah, it's going to be recorded on the channel. Those who are not part of the community, of course, definitely are invited to join to learn how is it we knew and understood right away that when everybody panicked and started jumping off the rooftops and tearing their hair off their head, the market's going to drop. We said no. I mean, actually it will be dropping eventually, and we understand why, the cyclical nature, the mathematical sort of reasoning behind everything and all that. And regardless, although we are positioned downwards, we were the most stable and sane community to stop, calm down, and recognize things for what they are, and recognize that these levels will actually be met within potentially a day or two, or a session or two, I meant. And as you see, we closed it literally within no time, and now we're going to be, if anything, wondering about the movement to the downside to close these gaps and accelerate to the downside further with it, or another retest, another just kind of wasted week or two, because we did say this may proceed all the way to the end of the month. Alrighty, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed today's session. I'll see you on the very next one, and yeah, see you in the community. Bye for now.